I mean, trying to find things to like in this movie besides the romance is hard. Because I have plenty I can rip this movie about all day
Well,
about.
Sean, I'm curious, what's your like?
Thank you,
Oh,
Trish.
man. It's hard to say because everything I want to like about this movie is a thing that they don't do enough of. And so I'm annoyed that they don't do enough. Welcome to the Skiffy and Fanny Show's Torture Cinema.
We're speaking the same language, but you don't understand a word I'm saying, do you?
I mean, in fairness, I don't understand a word that any of you are saying, and by the end of this, even if I did by the start, I wouldn't at the end because I've had a few to drink. I'm Sean.
I'm
I'm
Paul.
Trish.
And on today's show, we'll talk about what we're drinking and the movie Timeline, a 2003 movie based on the novel of the same name by Michael Crichton, directed by Richard Donner and starring Paul Walker, Frances O'Connor, Gerard Butler, and Billy Connolly, among many others. Someone selected the theme for this for a poll that our Patreon supporters voted on. I didn't write down who suggested this theme, and so if that happens to be you, please let us know so we can give you credit for being evil and making us watch Timeline, the second Michael Crichton movie we have watched on this show, although one he did not direct.
Would have it improved it? Maybe
Oh no,
not.
this is a better movie then.
Then Runaways? Probably yes. But we will get to that after drinking.
Absolutely way better. That's you, Sweet Pea. That's up to you. You're number 2.
Oh, I'm number 2. But before we do that, a friendly reminder, listeners, that we want to hear from you. Share your comments with us about this and any past episodes at skiffyandfanty/listener suggestions. That's all one word. We want to put together a listener mailbag episode with your thoughts, questions, topic suggestions, comments about how great Sean is, comments about Trish's intelligence, all that stuff. So get those thoughts in.
Okay. I mean, that turned into like a humble brag, but sure. Okay. Good job, Paul. Well, anyway, let's get on to what we're drinking. Now, it's not required that everybody have alcohol for this. It is only required that someone bring a beverage of some variety. And so, Paul, what beverage, if we want to get super French with this, given the location of this film, what beverage are you drinking?
I don't know French,
Well,
so...
I've just said a French word to you.
Beverage.
I don't know if that's actually French for beverage, but...
But thanks to my recent medical work, I have just water, plain water, nothing but water. Not even root beer tonight.
Is it regular water or is it water?
Water.
Because those are different, to be
Water.
clear.
Water.
Right, so water. Not water. Okay. Oh, let's
Water.
see the wart. Okay, thank you. Okay, I just wanted to check to make sure.
Okay, what about you, Trish?
Well, I
thought you were going to have root beer tonight. I heard something about that.
that was my plan, but in solidarity with some others in my life, I am not drinking. I am also trying to go low carb, and so I am drinking something I believe in French is called but it's H2O, the pure stuff. So yes, I too am
Got it.
boringly drinking water. I did have a nice dinner though.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want you to know, in French, that is actually water. So you're drinking something different from what Paul's drinking.
Okay, so we're not quite in solidarity. Got it.
Well, because technically that term, if it applies to this film, because this film mostly is set in the late 1300s, that term means something different. They would adjust a new term to say water later on, but in the 1300s, that meant water.
Well, I'm pretty sure the stuff I am drinking is a lot more pure than what they would have been drinking in the 1300s.
Oh, well, I mean, that may be true. Do you have a Brita filter?
It's a filter that is built into the sink and into the faucet, and I don't know what kind it is.
Okay, so it's a fancy. Yeah, so you probably turned water into water.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Alchemically.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Yeah. Well, great. Well, for me, I am drinking. I'm the only one who's going to have an alcoholic beverage tonight, and I decided to go themed tonight because that's what I try to do. And so I am having a Time Lime.
What is a timeline cocktail?
Tell
Sean?
us more.
God help
So
us.
dumb. So a Time Lime has a little bit of gin. It has Saint Germain, which is a type of liqueur. It has Cointreau, and it has fresh lime juice and thyme. Tyme. Thyme. Hence the name Time Lime Cocktail. And then I topped it off with a little bit of like lemon lime soda, although it's diet variety. Not that that's really helping me a lot on the amount of carbs I've consumed today, but you know what? I was good at the gym, so I don't care.
I was going to be good today, but it was raining from Ian or something, so...
You have a basement. You can do burpees in the basement.
Well, I guess I could have just done calisthenics, yes, but I didn't. I did calisthenics yesterday, and I usually alternate days.
Oh, fair enough. I don't actually recommend burpees because I hate burpees.
Oh, I hate them too, but they're good for you.
My personal trainer will be like, yeah, you're doing burpees today. And it's like, well, I'm going to complain about it the whole time, but I'm going to do it. Ugh, hate burpees. Burpees are evil.
I don't do burpees. I do yoga once a week.
Try some
And there's
burpees.
some things we get into. I'm not quite sure how to do a burpee.
I'll teach you how to do a burpee next time we're together.
All right. Which may be
Well,
Vietnam.
yeah, we might see each other before that. Yeah.
Burpees in Vietnam. Maybe.
I'll teach you how to do a burpee. They're not actually that hard. I mean, they're hard, but they're not like some
Complicated.
crazy exercise that you can't physically do. Paul, you can do a burpee or 3. But we'll do 40.
God, I'm going to hate you.
Yeah, you're probably going to hate me. Anyway, so now we need to get on to the summary of this movie Timeline, a movie that we all watched. I have watched twice, and in fact, I saw it 2 times before we watched it together in the Discord, which you can get to by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/skippingevent if you'd like to join our Discord and occasionally watch movies with us where we die inside in real time.
Yeah, you can have the experience live and direct.
But I've seen this movie many times, so maybe I should summarize it?
Yes.
I think you've seen it more than the two of us put together, so go for it.
Oh boy. Okay, so let's break this down. So Timeline, based on the book that I've never read by the author Michael Crichton. I don't know how accurate it is, and I don't care. It stars Paul Walker as one Chris Johnston, the son of one Professor Edward A. Johnston, who is an archaeologist who studies old French stuff from the 100 Years' War. And our young Chris / Paul Walker from Fast and the Furious, it's basically the same character. So just imagine them as the same person because they're basically the same person. He keeps showing up at the dig sites where his father is up to some stuff because he has the hots for one Kate Erickson, played by Frances O'Connor. And there's a bunch of stuff at the beginning of this of like, oh, like the old times are really great. And Gerard Butler like waxes lyrical about like an old earless dude on a sarcophagus. And he tries to like, the Paul Walker's character tries to woo the girl, and the girl's like, I hope you wouldn't notice, and you won't take no for an answer, but you're gonna keep pestering me, and brings her a beer and ruins her dig site and everything. And then it turns out, in conjunction with this, there is a semi-unethical business.
More than semi-unethical.
Calm down. We'll get back to that. Calm down. Who has been running, like a business dude that's been running this tech company that has inadvertently discovered a wormhole that allows to travel between 2 periods of time, our present, or the film's present, and 1357, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
They don't know why. They keep sending people back. Things go wrong. We'll find out later why. So they send back Professor Johnston, and then that goes wrong, and so they come back and they're like, hey, young Chris Johnston and all of your friends, Andre Marek, and your random French guy who we all know is going to die as quickly as possible because he's not even at the top of the billing. They all go back in time with some Marines who also die instantaneously, thus drawing into great question whether or not the Marines are actually useful in a medieval setting. And so they find out that it turns out that they've sent people back in time before, and one of those people got left behind and decided, I'm just going to become Sir William Decker, or William Decker as he used to be known. And he's working for evil Lord Oliver, played by Michael Sheen. And there's like a whole thing about like they've given them Greek fire, I guess because somehow Billy Connolly's character has figured out how Greek fire was actually made, even though nobody actually knows for sure how it was made. And anyway, that's a whole thing going on. And so they go back to go rescue the dad, and it all goes horribly awry. The French guy gets murdered because in any version of these stories, the English are evil for reasons that don't quite make a whole lot of sense, except that the English did technically start the 100 Years' War, and so technically Britain is getting what it's deserved now. I'm sorry. Edward III, did he not invade?
But he was pressing his claim.
I cannot express to you how much I do not give a shit about royalty pressing their claim.
But it makes sense why he would do this.
Well, you know what? He has his own island. He could just hang out there. Everything would be fine. You know? England's not a bad spot to hang out in. They got good shellfish. Like, you know, like the trees are pretty. It's generally a pretty nice place to be.
Before the 16th century, England was a backwater and France was where it was at. So if you're Edward III and you have a claim to the throne of France, like England, France, it's not a hard choice. I'm not saying, I mean, this is realpolitik in medieval pre-Renaissance Europe. I mean, the political is personal in this sort of society. Have you ever played Crusader Kings, Sean?
No.
You should play Crusader Kings. Crusader Kings by Paradox Interactive is a grand strategy game about basically the medieval world and this whole sort of mindset. Now we're up to Crusader Kings 3.
I think we should get back to the recap before it totally goes off the rails.
Okay, well, now that we found out that Paul is a pro-royalist, we can move on now.
That's not what I said at all!
Anyway, so the whole thing is, like, they have to stop the bad guy, and, like, Gerard Butler has to get the French babe, because, of course, that's how that has to work. And they all have to get back to the regular people time. There's also, like, a grenade that goes off at one point, because they're not supposed to take back modern weaponry, but he brought a grenade, but then he just conveniently decided not to ever throw it, which, again, draws into real question about the use of the Marines in medieval settings. I would argue that they are basically useless, which the Marines might take serious issue with, but you can email us at princejustin@gmail.com.
They really would have done better to have just taken back a troupe of medieval reenactors.
They really could have.
Probably.
Yeah, so that's the movie. That's basically it. Of course, Paul Walker gets the girl, because duh. Of course he does, because he's cute, and he tells them about, you know, every quarter mile he's ever run, basically.
He was born
Fast
to
and
run.
Furious, for those people who need to know that reference.
Yes. I've only seen one Fast and Furious movie, the first.
Well, the good news is it now counts as a science fiction franchise, so we can watch it later.
Yes, we actually could watch it because it's gone into science fiction at this point. So
they went into space. I'm just saying.
I didn't care at all about Chris getting the girl because he was just a horn dog as far as I could tell. What I cared about was that Andre Merrick, Gerard Butler, got his girl, the beautiful French Lady Claire.
Played by
Claire,
Anna
yes.
Friel. Yeah.
Yeah, Anna Friel. And yes, he chooses to stay behind. Unlike our evil French guy who stays behind and
he's
becomes...
not French.
Oh, English guy.
Well, he's not English
evil.
either. He's American. He just pretends to be English.
But he plays to be English. He plays to be, unlike him, who can't go back because he's gone back and forth so many times that he's basically having DNA rot, and so he can't go back anymore. I mean, he's staying in the past basically because this evil corporation has sent him back and forth so many times that he can't really do it anymore. And doesn't want to die going back to the present. So he figures, well, I might as well stay here and be a noble in 14th century France. And kill people for fun, as you do.
As you do. I mean, I will just say I feel sorry for Martin Sokas. I'm not 100% sure how you say his name, who is this brilliant New Zealand actor whose father's originally Hungarian, who always gets to play villains. And yet, like, I kind of just love him. I want him to play like a nice dad one of these days. Like, that's what I want. I want to see, like, what is Martin Scorsese like as like the nicest dad on the block? What is that character?
But I don't think people would buy it. They would keep expecting him to be secretly evil, and they keep waiting for him to actually reveal that he actually has a portal to hell in his basement or something.
That is true. I will agree with you, Trish, from earlier that the romance that's of real merit here is the one with Gerard Butler, and there are two reasons for that. One is that Gerard Butler and Anna Friel, or Lady Claire and Andre Merrick, actually, well, I mean, their romance doesn't really make sense, but at least it's like clearly consensual. They're both into each other pretty much from the go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have chemistry.
But also, Gerard Butler can literally hold me anytime he wants. That man is the most... I don't know what it is. Like, his little Scottish accent. Like, don't play an American ever again. Just be Scottish and just come hold me. I will take it. I just love him. He's adorable. I mean, Anna Friel's also really cute, but, like, Gerard Butler can kiss me anytime he wants.
Good to know.
That's in public.
That's in public. That's a thing. No.
Gerard Butler, you can call me.
I don't think he'll listen, but, you never know.
You never know. Okay, well, let's get to our likes and dislikes, shall we?
Okay.
All right, Trish. We're going to go with likes. I don't know why. It's just arbitrary. So what is the one thing you like most about this movie?
Well, I already said I really, really love the romance between Andre and Claire. They communicate pretty well without words. They save each other a bunch of times. They have chemistry, and there were a lot of problems that I had with the whole time travel stuff in this movie, but I did like that, it turned out that the sarcophagus that they found at the beginning of the movie with the knight holding the hand of his lady, which was very unusual, turned out to be his sarcophagus. So, there was some fate and destiny wrapped up in there, and I just thought that whole romance was adorable.
Wait a minute, Trish. You mean to say that the way the time travel is explained may not be scientifically accurate? No! Say it's not so, Trish. I love every time...
Well, we're not doing dislikes yet, so...
No, but I do have to say, like, it is funny. Every time they try to explain the time travel, it's like, no, dude, just less is more. Less is more. Stop trying to make it seem like it's legit time travel. Like,
let's just skip past that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, the romance is really cute. I mean, they could have used more. Like, they do kiss, like, 5 minutes after he rescues her. Like, and he, like, puts her in that, like, weird, like, half coconut shell from, like, a giant island. And they just, like, float down the river. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there were boats known as coracles, which were basically just, leather wrapped around branches. Little teacups that you floated in.
Yeah, little bowls. Yeah. That's totally legit.
So they didn't actually go to a giant's island and get a giant coconut and cut it in half?
No. They didn't bang them together either.
Oh, I mean, I figured it would just be easier, but okay.
By that time, the giants were kind of on their way out.
Oh, that's true. The whole Jack and the Beanstalk thing when he knocked that giant out of the... Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Giants and dragons were kind of on the decline by 14th century.
That's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, there probably might have been one or two left. Yeah, you're right. It's a real tragedy what happened to them. Okay, so romance cutes. Okay. Paul, what about you? Do you think the romance was cute?
I do think the romance between Gerard Butler and Anna Friel was cute. I mean, it was far more compelling than Paul Walker intertemporal horn dog, but so yeah, I mean, Paul Walker is a charismatic actor. He does have acting chops, but he is basically playing a reprobate horn dog son of an archaeologist who hangs around his father's camp, basically to try to get with the girl. But we're not talking about dislikes at the moment. And besides, that's not my dislike. My dislikes are going to come come up from a different direction anyway. So I need to come up with a like for this movie.
Well, hold on, Paul. I have to defend young Paul Walker just a little bit. Okay, so this is a thing you see in lots of movies, like, where kind of making fun of the horn dog stereotype, where like he never takes no for an answer. He's just like endlessly persistent. But this movie does make it clear that like she does actually like him. She just won't say it. And the person that tells him that he should stop is his dad. His dad's like, you're from different worlds, it won't work out. Which, I mean, let's be honest.
So we're just putting fuel in the fire, yes.
Right, like parent telling you no, like, okay. But like when he asks her, like, oh, so there's nothing here, right? Her response is not, yeah, no, there's nothing here. You should go back to like racing cars and Fast and Furious with Vin Diesel. She says, no, she doesn't say no at all. She says instead, you're the boss's son, which really just says that if you weren't the boss's son, there would be something here, but you're the boss's son, so there is a potential conflict.
Or it could mean you're the boss's son, so I can't tell you how much I wish you would jump into a volcano.
That it could be that too, although what follows later seems to confirm that she does have the cutes for him. I mean, he is cute, although he's dumb as a ball of rocks, but, you know, I mean, what do you get? I mean, literally, he spends all of his days just driving cars, so. Or in this case, driving a motorbike off-road that should not be an off-road motorbike. We'll just say. Yeah. Well, Paul, what about you? What's your like?
Okay, I wanted to like the scenery of this movie. Sadly, I couldn't like this. Oh, now I'm once again haven't even got to like it because this a lot of the stuff is CGI or not so great sets and filmed in Canada mostly, so it's nowhere near Europe. So
I mean, it's basically the same.
I couldn't like the scenery as much as I might fall back on my usual scenery porn, but this movie doesn't really have scenery porn per se. What I liked is it's a subtle thing, but I kind of liked except for Paul Walker and being a reprobate. I mean, I like the fact that we actually get to see archaeologists and archaeological dig and them actually exploring and try to do things in a rational fashion. And when they go off course is when things go wrong, is when they actually don't follow proper procedures. So it actually shows to use good archaeological techniques and not go herring off on things and getting yourself into trouble falling into pits and things. So the Archaeologists Union of the World would appreciate this movie for saying, see, this is what happens when you don't follow proper procedure in archaeological digs.
Well, I'm confused. What happens when you don't follow proper procedure? What does this film say?
You wind up falling in holes and
well, they didn't fall in holes, though. That the hole opened and then they went into it via like a pulley system.
Yeah, that's they should not. They should have followed proper procedure, and they got themselves into trouble as a result.
But like barely, Paul. Like they were barely in trouble. Like one rock fell and they went, "Oh no! Like we got to go back up."
which was hilarious.
It was. I mean, that scene's funny.
But also we also, I mean, as far as archaeological knowledge, archaeological knowledge helps save them in the end.
True.
The girl's theory about the tunnel proves out to be true. I mean, they have to wind up creating the tunnel, but they actually wind up proving the archaeological theory, which I appreciate.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I really like that they let the girl be the smartest character.
Yes,
yes.
She has archaeological knowledge and uses it for good, rather than letting one of the guys come up with it. So yes,
it is interesting that like. So there's three characters that are like archaeology guys, because there's the one guy who's a physicist who just stands around being surprised all the time. But the three archaeologists, right, which is the dad, the girl, and the other boy, and in Paul Walker's character, who doesn't actually care that much about this, talks to both of them, but it seems like when he talks to both, like he's just being honest. Like she asks him straight up, like, you don't really like all this stuff, and he's like, nah, it's not my thing. Gerard Butler's character asks him, and he says, yeah, it's also not my thing. He gives a different reason, but it's basically the same reason. But, like, he's still there? We never actually see him bored. His dad says he gets bored, but, like, we don't actually see him bored. The closest we see is he's sitting in a lawn chair at one point reading a book, which doesn't, to me, say bored. It just means he's not doing archaeology. So, like, it's kind of neat that he talks to the archaeologist and lets them like wax lyrical to him about the stuff that they care about. And he just was like, all right, like, oh yeah, okay, it's fine. he doesn't go, just stop talking to me like you're an egghead. Like, he doesn't disrespect their work.
No, that shows Paul Walker's charisma and acting ability.
You could have stopped the charisma.
Yeah, charisma. Okay, that's fair.
He's not good in this. Like, let's not pretend his acting's...
Yeah, but you can see the seeds of his better stuff.
That's fair. This is pretty early Paul Walker, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty early Paul Walker.
I'm checking now. I gotta know, like, when... Oh my god, he loves his cars way too much. It's not fair.
Of course he loves his cars.
He literally has more sections on his main Wikipedia page about cars.
This does not
that's right.
surprise-
He was in Tammy and the T-Rex.
I do not remember that movie.
It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. It's so bad.
No, it's my. I mean,
Oh
he
my
has some
god,
younger
Timeline
stuff.
was the same year he did the second Fast and Furious.
So it's not. So it's not as young as you.
Like, it's the rise of the Walker. That's what's happening.
It's the rise
right now.
of the Walker.
Oh my goodness. Oh, anyway.
So yeah.
Yeah,
So,
archaeologists getting good.
I mean, trying to find things to like in this movie besides the romance is hard because I have plenty I can rip this movie about all day.
Well,
about.
Sean, I'm curious, what's your like?
Thank you,
Oh
Trish.
man, it's hard to say because everything I want to like about this movie is a thing that they don't do enough of, and so I'm annoyed that they don't do enough. Like, you bring in Martin Sokas, who is really fun to watch as a villain. Like, if you ever watch the movie Triple X, Martin Sokas plays Yuri in that movie which is the main villain. And he just really gets to chew the scenery and kind of be villainy and, like, really interesting. And it's just really fun to watch him. In this, it's like they get one scene where he really talks and he kind of flits between his American and English accent. His American accent's hilarious to me because it's such a artificial American accent.
You know what he's good in? Kingdom of Heaven.
He's pretty good in that. Yeah, like... But, like, you bring him in here, and I'm like, So, here's my problem. Martin Sokas should have been Lord Oliver. Because, like, Michael Sheen, also, brilliant actor, but he's not in this movie enough. And so you have these two utterly brilliant people, but you don't film enough scenes for either of them to really get the shine, and it's like,
right.
That's kind of sad to me.
Really, you have 3 villains in this movie. You have Frank Gordon, Neil McDonough, the chief of the security team, who behaves badly at certain points. You have, well, actually 4. You have Oliver DeVanis, Michael Sheen. You have Sir William Decker, and you have the head of ITC Corporation, whatever his name is,
Doniger, played by David Thewlis. Yeah.
So
right.
I understand that Crichton's plot in the novel may be very complicated, but in a movie, you need to strip that stuff down. You can't have 4 villains in a movie, because, as you're saying, Sean, you can't give any of them
enough
adequate screen time to really shine.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like this is a thing where it would just be better to be less. Like, there's even, like, I mean, we're really just, like, being mean to the movie, and I don't care right now. But, like, there's even that great thing where, like, the Renard, is that his name? Arnaud, played by Lambert Wilson, who, like, kills this one guy that's, like, I guess, like, a lieutenant or, like, some equivalent, right? And it's this moment where he stabs him, and it's like, ha-ha, I got him. But it's like, but this guy has been in, like, one scene where he got to say a line. Like, why is this the big finale? Like, why are we excited about this? Like, it's just like a weird directing. I could not believe that Richard Donner, the same guy behind Goonies, did this movie, because it's just like they didn't think about these things. And so, like, this really is just like all my problems with, like, every like I have is like, I like this thing, but they didn't do enough. I like this thing, they didn't do enough, which is sad. But I have to choose a real like, I guess.
Choose a real like. You can do it.
I can't choose archaeology because y'all already did that one. And it is kind of cool that this is a thing that tries to sexy up archaeology, which is a field that desperately needs some sexy.
Real archaeology and not even Indiana Jones archaeology.
Okay, You be careful right now because Indiana Jones has 3 PhDs in archaeology. So
I'm not denying
His
his doctorates. I'm denying his methods and also his cultural appropriation techniques.
I mean, to be fair, he is saving relics from Nazis, so it's like 90% of the people he stops from taking stuff is Nazis. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I mean, do you really want anybody else other than a like very large warehouse to have like the Ark of the Covenant?
No.
I don't. I don't want anybody having that kind of power. That shit needs to be buried in a very deep hole.
I mean, this is how Warehouse 13 got its inspiration.
Yeah, fair point.
Yep.
Okay. Seriously, it's Gerard Butler.
Okay, that's a fair like. I mean, I know you have a man crush on him, and I can respect that man crush.
Look, I'm very hetero, but like Gerard Butler is insanely attractive. I don't know what it is about him. He is just like, it's not just 300 where you got all ripped and everything. Like, I feel like Gerard Butler's a nice guy, and like you could just be like the best bros with him. And you could just like hang out, like have a beer, and like we wouldn't watch like football, we'd watch soccer or something because he's British, or well, he's Scottish, but like whatever. Right? Like he is just like insanely attractive and charming in this. Which is saying something, because I think Paul Walker's supposed to be charming, but he does come off a little bit, as Trish, you were correctly noting, like a little bit of a horn dog. Whereas like Gerard Butler is like, he's like a romantic. Like he comes across as this guy who very much believes in these ideas of like chivalry and romance. Like, of course, obviously like the romantic notions of those things. And yeah, I mean, if you put Gerard Butler in a movie, I'm probably gonna like Gerard Butler in that movie. Because no man deserves to be as attractive as Gerard Butler. Like that, he needs to share. I'm just saying, give a little bit of that to every other man. Like you've got enough to share. He's a handsome man. Oh God, how is he? How does a Gerard Butler come into being? How does that work?
Laws of statistics, good
That's
genes.
just bizarre to me. Like he shouldn't be that attractive, and yet he is.
Viewers and listeners who want to learn more about Gerard Butler can email SeanDuke@gmail.com.
Oh, like I bet you he smells good. Like, you know how okay, no, like seriously, like you know how sometimes you see an actor and you're like, that actor definitely doesn't smell good.
That thought has never occurred to me, Sean. I'm sorry.
Okay, watch Leverage. You ever watch Leverage?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the main character in Leverage, right? Whatever that actor's name is, like
Timothy Hutton?
Yeah, Timothy Hutton, right? He's like a drunk, like right in the show. Every time I see him in that show, I'm like, I bet you he smells like alcohol. He probably smells like his character would smell. I'm just saying, little bit of vomit. I'm just saying, it's there.
Oh my.
He looks like it. Like he just kind of looks like he doesn't smell right. Gerard Butler, I bet you he smells like vanilla. You're just like going up to Gerard Butler. I'm just saying.
I can't prove or disprove this theory of yours.
You know I'm right.
Maybe. Possibly.
Gerard Butler smells like vanilla. Start that now on the internet, everybody.
But not even Gerard Butler can save Gods of Egypt.
No, God no. That movie's so dumb.
Oh, hopefully it is never on Torture Cinema. Because...
Well, congratulations, Paul. Because that's our next Torture Cinema, Paul.
Scoop. Well, it would get you more Gerard Butler fix. God help us.
Okay, well, let's get to our dislikes. I think we can finally get to it. So, Trish, regale us with the thing that most annoyed you about this movie.
No.
The utter contempt for consistency and things making sense. For instance, this thing is supposed to happen in 1357, and it's supposed to be the fact that Claire gets hung, or in this case rescued, and that's supposed to be what leads the French to win the war. So 1357, the actual 100 Years' War, took place between 1337 and 1453. So, actually longer than 100 Years' War, but decades and decades and decades after this incident was supposed to end the 100 Years' War. Another case in point, the fact that the English people speak modern English when, as we know, no one from this time would have any ease at all of being understood or of understanding the people speaking their Norman, Anglo-Saxon mishmash that was, still quite a ways from evolving into modern English. I think it might have been, I don't even know if it's before or after the Great Vowel Shift, but there's no way that
it's roughly Chaucer-esque.
Yeah.
I believe. And if you read Chaucer, Chaucer's not writing modern English.
Right. So there's no way that they should be able to understand anyone, it's just the whole movie goes through this of, and the thing of Greek fire that Paul mentioned. Modern people don't know how to make Greek fire. The secret was lost.
It was Sean, not me, who mentioned that.
Also, Trish, you're concerned about the language, by the way. The book actually addresses that. Because in the book, they talk about... so Merrick's character in the book, it can speak Occitane, which is apparently the language that would have been...
Yeah, which is not even French.
Okay.
It's a dialect in that region of France.
Yeah.
Right, and they did have a guy on the team originally who spoke 1300s French, but he got killed as once they get captured by the English, he gets killed because they think he's a French spy.
Well, worth noting that it's not that he speaks 1300s French. They just say he's fluent in French because Gerard Butler only has high school French and it's shit. To which Francois says, "Yeah, it is."
Okay, well, anyway,
it's worse than you said, is really what it goes down to.
Okay.
It's even worse.
It's just all of a piece. They don't try to make things make sense. They don't have any... I read IMDb, and it said somewhere that they actually did try to make a fair recreation of a French 1300s or so village, but... And okay, that felt all right, but just things didn't make sense, and they didn't try to make them make sense, and it was just really annoying.
I agree.
So I'm sorry if that dislike was broad enough to steal whatever you two were going to say, but you can probably come up with some other things to dislike.
Mine's going to shade into yours.
All right, shade us.
It has to do with inconsistency. It has to do with the... I mean, we were discussing before about warfare in the 14th century and royalists and whatnot. And this movie is, and Trish already brought up the fact that this movie gets batshit, pardon my language, wrong about the 100 Years' War and its progress. But in general, this movie just does not understand the nature of medieval combat and sieges at all. Let us start with the fact that in no time in this period were the English and French color-coded with their uniforms. This never happened. Never. I mean, shading into the Holy Eye getting killed for a French spy, as Trish pointed out, I mean, at this time, half the English spoke French because that was the language of Western Europe, so no one's going to be suspicious that you speak French because anybody with a half an ounce of education west of Italy speaks French, so that shouldn't be suspicious to anybody. It just shows you're educated and you're not a complete peon. And it's just like the English tactics and the French defense of this castle just make no logistical sense whatsoever. I think my late friend Scott and I could probably design a better attack plan than the English have, or a better defense than the French have.
You mean the other way around?
No, either one. We can take either side and do better than these two just banging each other.
Well, because it's the English who are defending and the French who are attacking in the movie.
I have it reversed. You're right. Either playing defense or offense, we could both do better than what these areas did. Sides did.
I will give them credit for not having the trebuchets in front of the army, which is what a certain television show did with their catapults, where they put them in front of the army, where they couldn't continue firing.
You don't put the arty in front. No, I at least you got that right, but still, it's like the movie just does not understand how you handle siege warfare. Or just like handling just the nature of medieval combat, and oh god,
it's not good.
I mean, when the bad guy at the end teleports through and gets stabbed immediately, it's like, oh god, it's over, sort of thing. Because it's and that makes no sense either. But it's like, so Mercer Pisa, and you just pull out a sword and no.
What'd you think about the exploding arsenal?
Oh god, please, please. We are in 1357 France. We would not have anything like that for another conservatively 150 years.
Oh, so they wouldn't have had exploding projectiles from trebuchets, is what you're saying?
No, they would not.
Oh.
I mean,
okay.
This whole and Greek fire. Okay, let me tell you about Greek fire. You know what the use of Greek fire was for?
Tell us, Paul.
It was not for troops in a siege. It was to fire on ships.
Yep.
Yeah.
And make them burn to the waterline and go down to the ocean. That's why the Byzantines invented this stuff, so that no enemy navies could come up and siege them. It's like, have some Greek fire. Bye ships. Go glub glub glub.
They used to keep sand on the ship for that exact purpose,
Mm-hmm.
to stop Greek fire.
So it's like So this guy can create Greek fire. It's not going to help you with the siege.
Also, keep in mind, he creates the Greek fire in the middle of the battle, shoots one of his, like, sort of giant, like, cannon thing rockets or whatever, burns down one trebuchet, and they don't have any more? Like, they weren't ready for more, and he's like, give him 20 men and he'll do it. I'm like, what the fuck do you think is a siege? Like, you think you're just going to be there for months making this stuff? Like,
I mean, this is not like a game of Civ where you have one catapult going to the city, you destroy it, and that's the only time army. The worst game of Civ ever. The worst game of Crusader Kings ever.
It's
even more
bizarre.
Appropriate. Like, yes, so it's like, no, this is terrible medieval warfare. Now, as far as the problems the Kingdom of Heaven has, at least they actually get some of the specifics of medieval combat right. Even with the Siege of Jerusalem, where they had the trebuchets, and yes, they weirdly fire sideways, but that's actually how they actually work. So if you want a better movie to see how medieval sieges work, go watch Kingdom of Heaven, the extended edition. You'll get a much better sense of how armies actually acted in this time period. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm right with you on that, Paul, because I have watched so many, like, medieval weaponry expert reviews movie videos where, like, these are the exact things they complain about all the time. Like, every trebuchet or catapult launches explosive arsenal. That's not a thing. Like,
I mean, at least they didn't do the fire arrows in this movie.
No, they did. They had fire arrows.
You're right.
And then they go night arrows.
I blanked out on them. You're right.
But, like,
right.
Here's the thing I don't understand. Why would you start with fire arrows to begin with? Because they can't see the arrows at night anyway, so you would just shoot the arrows at night without fire. It'd be more effective.
As a intimidation technique, I don't know. It makes no sense. You're right. I completely forgot about the night arrows. You're right.
They start with, like, fire. Everyone shoot fire. And then they go, night arrows. And then they never shoot them again.
Because they only had that one set.
Right, they only had that one set arrows.
Because I don't understand logistics either in this movie. Like, how is this castle actually even supplying itself if it's in a siege?
Magic.
Can we talk about logistics and actually supplying such a castle in this? I mean, if the English have really been penned up this long, they should be eating practically each other at this point.
But they're not, though. Like, they're wandering around before that.
They're wandering around. It's like, this is the worst siege ever.
Well, they haven't sieged yet. They only siege at the end, but the siege lasts for, like, 45 seconds.
Because they said that they're penned up there, so it's a siege in all but name, but it's a terrible...
Wait, did they say they're penned up?
Yes.
But they're not.
That's what they say early on, that the English are penned up in the castle. Yes.
But they're not.
But they're not.
Because Martin Sokas is just running around murdering people in the woods.
It is terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
I mean, let's also be let's be real. Like, even when like Arnaud shows up, like he's got like 100 guys, like max. It's not like, what kind of army does he really have here?
I mean, okay. So I'm not even quite defending it, but I mean, the whole idea of medieval armies being huge is wrong because they couldn't field what they could field back in classical civilization or later on, like in Napoleonic. So armies were small, but they were bigger than 100 guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he should have 10,000 guys, but like he shows up with like the leftover guys that got lost, but by like other guys were marching to some bigger battles, and these are the guys that just got lost and ended up here. Yeah.
Right. I mean, but battles were relatively small scale in this era because, they're living off the land and population hasn't recovered. So, I mean, 5,000 guys is a substantial army in this time period, but you don't have an army of 100 guys. That's a bunch of brigands. Yeah. That's not any armed force worth its name.
It's not much. This movie's ridiculous.
I mean, soon in Italy, you're going to wind up with nice big condottieri mercenary companies of substantial size, but not quite yet. Actually, I think the condottieri are about getting going at this period. It's 14th century. I think they're about since the Renaissance is about to kick off, they're about ready to have substantial armies running around Italy and causing mayhem.
Wow, look at that nerd cred coming out, Paul. Wow. Someone's read some books.
I've read some books. Yes, I have. I have ripped the warfare of this movie up and down. It's up and down the length of the river. So I guess we have to find out what you didn't like about this movie, Sean.
Oh, well, the absence of Romans just is unacceptable for this movie. Even though it's, like 500 plus years too late. No. No. Honestly, I think the thing I dislike about this movie is just how overall, like, everything about the plot of this movie feels basic. It's so, like, the most attention they pay to detail is in the bullshit science in the whole description of how time travel works. That's where they spend the most time trying to give us real detail. But, like, there's no real detail about what French society is like at this point, or what the English are really up to. Like, the most we get is like, oh, it's 1357. Like, that's what they're going to do. They're going to invade. I don't know why that accent came out, but whatever.
I don't know either.
But, like, that's, like, the extent of what we get in this. The archaeology stuff gives us stuff, but it's mostly fantasy, right? Because it's not real people that they're talking about. It's fantasy people, right? This castle doesn't exist. So they spend a lot of time on things that aren't real and not a lot of time on the things that actually are real. Like, even though this battle never took place, the French are fielding armies at this point. The British are fielding armies. They've invaded France at this point. It's a war that happens, as Trish pointed out, for over 100 years, like 116 years this war lasts. And they spend no time on any of that.
Mm-hmm.
To make that feel grounded and real, but they spend all this time on the bullshit that doesn't actually matter. We don't actually need to know how any of this fancy time travel system works.
And again, they go to endless detail about how they were trying to try to make matter transport and accidentally to create time travel. It's a lot of world building that doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't matter. The thing that matters is they're going to rescue their dad who's stuck in the past. That's the thing that matters. So all we need to know from the time travel stuff is we inadvertently discovered a connection to a wormhole. We can send people back in time.
To a very specific place and time, right?
Right, to a very specific place and time.
Right, to one space and one place, one spot.
Like, literally the villains, the, like, capitalist villains thing should be, we were trying to figure out how we send people the way we send information through fax machines. We inadvertently discovered that we have found a wormhole that connects to this period of time. We can send people back. We sent people back. It didn't go well. There are people now stuck there. We need help getting them out because they're trapped in a time period they don't fully understand. We need subject experts to go back and help. That's you. Done.
Yeah.
And then don't bother.
It's much more of a Mission Impossible sort of theme rather than this sort of amorphous mess. I also want to make a a note to what I was saying before when I was doing my nerd cred. I had to look up to make sure. In 1360, which is a couple years after this, is when John Harkwood starts creating mercenary bands in Italy. So I was right. So yeah, so we're just about at the edge of real mercenary companies running around Italy and Western Europe.
While we're fact checking ourselves, I did look up the Great Vowel Shift, which is when English people started pronouncing vowels in different parts of their mouths than they had before, so that words sounded different. That started in the 15th century. So all of these people should be completely unintelligible to our modern time travelers.
All you're making me think of is like when the Globe Theater started doing original pronunciations of Shakespeare, where they were doing their best to sort of dig through all of these texts and things from back then to try to figure out how people's mind is spoken back then.
Mm-hmm.
And it's utterly fascinating. You can go look at this if you want. Like, look at the Globe Theater original pronunciation stuff. You can see people reading, like, Hamlet and things like that in the original pronunciation. But it's like, yeah, like, even Shakespeare, in the late 1500s, early 1600s, they don't sound the way British people sound today. Not exactly. There's some similarities, but, like, language changes over the course of many hundreds of years. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We would be unintelligible to someone from the 1300s. If we all went back in time, try to talk to these people, they'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why do you keep mentioning the web?
I might be too better off at trying to throw Latin at them.
Yeah, you'd be better off throwing at Latin. Although even then, like, maybe your accent would be so unintelligible, they'd listen to your Latin and be like, why is he talking like an idiot?
Yeah.
Why does he sound like he's drunk? Like, I know people like wine at this time, but my goodness, he needs to lay off the sauce. Except they wouldn't say that. They would probably say something else. Yeah, I mean, like, this movie's not bad. I would just say that this, like, it's bad, but it's not bad. It's just dumb. I don't know how else to say it. It's just a dumb movie. Like, there's nothing, like, that is super objectionable about it, right? There's nothing where you sit down and you go, oh my god, that is, like, super offensive, or oh my god, that's so bad.
True.
I can't handle it. It's just that you get to the end of it and you're like, okay, like, I mean, okay, fine. Like, you just move on with your life. You know, we've watched movies where we got to the end and we were like, what the fuck just happened to us? This is a movie where you go, well, that was the thing they made.
That was the thing we watched.
Yep.
Yes.
Moving on with our lives. It's pretty much how it is. Which is sad, but whatever. It's not like Runaway by Timeline, where they got, like, Gene Simmons to just come in and be, I guess, high on cocaine or whatever the hell he was doing. Like, he just looks like a lunatic in that. So Trish, the big question of the day is, what are your final thoughts about this movie, and how, on the American grade scale, would you grade this?
Oh, dear God.
Well, I'll just mention IMDb says Michael Crichton hated this movie so much that he refused to license any more movies based on his novels after that.
He did!
Ever.
Of all the movies he hated so much, this is the one he hated, not some of the other shit made on his.
Well, there you go.
That's great.
I didn't hate it as much as Michael Crichton did. As you say, there was nothing horribly offensive in it, other than the offenses to logic and history and martial tactics. But, no classes of people were trampled upon. And it did have one sweet romance in it that I liked a lot. So, I'm somewhere in the C range. I'm trying to decide C-, C+, normal C. I guess I'll just vote for a straight C for this movie.
Oh, say can you?
Well, the big question is, would you watch it again? Willingly. Like, you want to watch it. Would you want to watch it again?
Maybe while I was folding laundry or something. I can...
Okay,
yeah.
A C seems fair for you then, yeah. Alright, fair enough. Paul, what about you? Final thought, grade?
Lots of this movie annoyed me. I mean, it wasn't a terrible movie that made me want to bleach my brain and have to clean myself afterwards. I mean, it does have Gerard Butler's sweet romance with Anna Friel, which does make up for some of the many sins in this movie. And The movie could have been better if they just tried
Yeah.
harder. It feels like they didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
And that's a terrible thing. They didn't give enough of a damn to make. I mean, I can't even give this too bad a grade just because it's. I mean, aside from the fact that they filmed this in Canada and didn't film it, like say in France or Central Europe or someplace nice like that, and get a real castle. But you know, I'm going to be a little more stingy with my grade than Trish is. I'm going to give it a C minus.
I think that's totally fair, Paul. I do want to note for the importance of historical accuracy that some of this movie was filmed in Quebec, and that does mean that in the movie itself, some of the shields that are shown have the Quebec flag on it. Now, I will note that Quebec does not exist in 1357. It's not a place yet. I mean, the territory that Quebec now rests on exists. It is presumably being inhabited by other people. But the notion of Quebec, no, definitely not. Not part of the calculus.
No,
Well,
none.
Where
none.
did the Quebecois get their flag from? Maybe they took it from a historical thing or something?
That's a good question.
That's a good
I don't know.
question. Well, that might be a question we'll have to answer another time, but I'm very curious. So if somebody at home knows, skiffingfanny@gmail.com. Let us know if you find out.
Oh, I got it.
You got
I got
it?
it. I got it because they got it from the royal banner of France, the Bourbon flag. So which tracks with
But
this
the
time period.
Bourbons were after this, right?
The Bourbons were after this.
Yeah, so it's still not accurate.
No, but the Bourbons in charge of France. I mean, the Bourbons were a house in France at this time, as I believe. So yeah, so they basically got it. So,
But let me ask you, Paul, were they at Castleguard in 1357?
The Bourbons were founded in 1272.
Well, yeah, but no, Paul, you're not understanding. Were they at Castleguard in 1357?
No one was at Castleguard in 1357.
No,
Not a real place.
it didn't exist, so they could not have been there.
Anyway, okay. Well, all right. Well, final thought. It's mostly inoffensive. Like, even when it's almost offensive, it's not offensive. Like, the whole Paul Walker thing is like kind of, but also like we've seen movies where they just follow that through to its most extreme conclusion, and it's sort of like this at least doesn't follow the kind of weird horn dog trope to its like most extreme, and so like he does seem to actually care for her, even though he's kind of like being ridiculous and a little bit overbearing. But at least they don't go that to the extreme. So I feel like that's the thing, is like every mistake it makes is a mistake that other films would drag to their more extreme conclusion. And for that reason, I would say, like, I've seen this 4 times. It's not a good movie. It's not a horrible movie. It's a C- movie.
Yeah, that's fair. So we average out to just below, just above a C minus.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like a C- ish.
C minus, yeah, a little more
Works
than C
for me.
minus.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, that's probably one of the highest grades we've given to a torture cinema movie, so I will just say that.
So go timeline.
Yeah, I will just note that our grades are far more accurate than either Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, so you should definitely use our grades.
What grades did they give it?
I didn't
Well,
actually check what they gave this. On
Oh.
IMDb, they give it a 5.6 on IMDb.
So that's pretty much a C+.
Well, 5.6 would be a 56%, so that would be a F,
Oh, okay. It depends.
technically. Yeah, although,
Yeah.
like, that's kind of weird because the American grade scale's a little bit wonky because once you get below 60%, you go into F, but then, like, it's just all Fs after 50%, which doesn't quite make sense to me, but sure. And on Rotten Tomatoes, I mean, it's even worse. It's got a 13%, unless you go by audience, and it's a 45.
Yeah, so we're much kinder than those
Yeah.
venues.
This incoherently plotted addition to the time travel genre looks and sounds cheesy. I mean, sure. Like, okay, I'm with you. But you know what? I will just note that they probably gave, like, Mortal Kombat, like, a 13%, and they're wrong, so whatever.
Well, Mortal Kombat is fun, so yeah, they would be wrong.
Yeah, I love that movie. Okay, Well, that's it, folks. We have done another episode of the Torture Cinema podcast. So if you'd like to let us know what you thought about this episode, if you have opinions about Timeline, please let us know. Go to skiffyandfanty.com/listener suggestions. You can follow us at Skiffy and Fanty on Twitter and Instagram. You can subscribe to our newsletter at skiffyandfanty.com/newsletter, which is run by Stephen Geigen Miller, a very lovely individual from Canada, I will note, but not Quebec, so he can't tell us anything about what the Quebecois are really like. Finally, if you'd like to support what we do, the best ways to do that are to go to patreon.com/skiffyandfanty and also to give us reviews on iTunes. Patreon is literally as little as $1. If you can give us $1 per month, you can join our Discord and get all kinds of cool stuff. So we do the Speculative Dispatch, which there are like 26 episodes up there now, which is an exclusive show for our Patreon supporters. You can vote on Torture Cinema polls and go to our Discord and yell at us about stuff. So I'm at Sean Duke on Twitter, SeanDuke.net, Alphabet Streams on Twitch, and patreon.com/thejoyfactory.
And you can find me, Paul Weimer, at Prince Justin on Twitter. That's with the B, PRINCEJBSTIN. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Prince Justin. I have a website, www.princejustin.com. You start getting a theme here on many blogs and podcasts, including Tor.com, Nerds of Feather. I've even reviewed on the Hive of Scum and Villainy, that is File 770. And one day, I do promise I will even stream. I am Prince Justin on Twitch too. I am everywhere on the internet. Just throw a rock.
Also, Paul does hang out on my stream at Alphabet Streams, and we've been chatting about stuff. So if you want to come here, us chat.
And he's been asking me questions about genre and quizzing me on opening lines to books and other things.
Yeah. And you can find me, Trishy Matson, most easily on Twitter at PE Matson.
I hear that you podcast and do other things too.
I do. Sometimes I even post on my blog, what'sthewordnow.blogspot.com. Sometimes.
I feel like you've never been on a podcast, Trish. I mean, never. Like that. This is like even now you're not on this podcast. Not technically. Yeah. Are you in 1357 right now?
No.
Okay. Oh, is that by choice?
Definitely. I would not want to visit 1357.
No, I feel like the food would not be great.
I mean, 1357 would be fine to visit somewhere other than France.
I still think you probably get horrible food poisoning and like gut parasites and shit.
Probably. I mean, I would want to take a nice course of all sorts of drugs before I go.
Ivermectin, maybe.
Oh God. Oh God! Now we've gone hoarse with this podcast. Nay, I say nay.
Oh,
I think we've gotten to our awkward ending, right?
Yeah, we've definitely gotten there.
Yes, on horse
this
paste.
This episode of Skiffy and Fanty was brought to you by Horse Paste. On that note,
awkward
ending and scene.
Bye.
Oh dear God.
If you want to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/skiffyandfanty or skiffyandfanty.com, our website, where you can get access to all of our fancy things. Our music comes from Holy Mole. You can support him and his work at patreon.com/holymole. Thank you for listening.